It's me. Hi everyone, welcome to the show. So today we're going to talk about my lovers, my boyfriends, my girlfriends, and everything in between. I'm currently on a vow of singlehood, not celibacy, but singlehood. I decided I'm not getting into another serious relationship until I'm in my 30s, and so far it's been great. A little confusing, but pretty fun. So that's what we're going to talk about today. Love, life, lessons. When I first went into the dating pool, I asked my bestie for some advice, so we're going to chat with her a little bit later. But first, let's see what the cards have to say. I felt really compelled to pull this one. Oh, look at that. You are exactly where you're meant to be in this moment. And there's even little flowers on it. Very fitting for today's look. A lot of times we feel so stuck and feels like we're not going anywhere, but the universe has like a greater plan. I think we can all agree on that. Okay, let's get into it. Love. Oh, isn't it fun? Isn't it cute? Isn't it traumatizing? I'm not afraid of love. I've never been afraid of that word. I've always been the first one to say it pretty much in every relationship because I'm a baddie. To me, love comes in so many different forms. And actually, before we get started, it's probably an important thing to know that I'm a polyamorous pansexual person. It's very important that you know that. No, I mean, it kind of gives you a little bit of a picture of who I am. And we're talking about love and relationships today. And if you're kind of like already gooped at that label and that title, first of all, I know labels. Some people don't like labels. Some people are not into them. I get it. I love labels personally. I find them very affirming, very like validating, and it's nice sometimes to put a name to a feeling. So I love labels. So let's start with pansexual. No, I'm not attracted to kitchenware. The reason why I like the title pansexuality over bisexuality is that, well, for one, I've dated people who are non-binary, and so bisexuality feels so gendered. It's like I like girls and I like boys. I like people that are, in between sometimes. And also it's the way that I'm attracted to people's. It's such an energy-based attraction for me. Like, I don't really have a type. My best friend disagrees with me. She swears I have a type. There's definitely qualities that I'm attracted to, but for the most part, it's like an energy thing and it just clicks for me. And so when I heard the term pansexual, I just felt really validated by it. So that's why I chose to go by it. And then the other one, polyamory. Okay, this is the crazy one. Yeah, people are afraid of polyamory because as soon as they say that, they think I'm a crazy sex hoa. Polyamory. Multiple love, right? Loving multiple people. Polyamory. If it's really hard for you to conceptualize, think of the way that you can love your friends at the same time as you can love your partner. Does it betray your partner because you love your friends? No. There's levels too. Not everything is about sex, okay? You dirty-minded little mongrels. No, I've been in intimate relationships with somebody who's, say, asexual, and so sex isn't necessarily a part of the relationship, but it's still like very intimate and loving, and it could still be called a relationship. So I don't know, I like these labels because I feel like it helps me define the way that I move through the world. And I actually don't date a lot of people for a polyamorous girl. I find it hard to focus. I actually rarely even date more than one person at a time, but again, I know that I can love multiple people at the same time, so I like the label because it makes sense to me and it feels good. So yeah, whatever. And it only really has to make sense to me. So if you like labels, boom. Let's talk about my first ever boyfriend. We'll call him Mark. It was the first grade and our relationship pretty much entirely consisted of MSN chats. We never spoke in person, but we were in love. I used to call his house, and then when his mom would pick up, I would just hang up. I would do that a few times a day. It was a pretty hot and heavy relationship. Anyways, we ended up going to junior high, different junior highs. I'm a mature girl. I knew we have our whole lives ahead of us. Okay, this relationship, it can't go any farther, Mark. I'm sorry. We're going to need to end it. So I wrote him a letter. I'm a communicative girl. Okay. You will start to notice that this is a theme in my life. Thank you so much for the beautiful love that we shared throughout elementary school. I wish you all the best. I give it to a friend of mine who goes to school with him, and I'm like, give Mark this letter. We're breaking up. It's devastating. Anyways, I asked her at dance class the next week, how did it go? How did he take it? Did he cry? Is he okay? Did you have to console him? I bet it was really tough. She's like, oh, he read it with his friend and laughed. Fuck you, Mark. You never deserved me. How dare you? Yeah. So I was a weird kid. Navigating relationships has always been a little bit difficult for me. I did realize that I'm on the spectrum, so that explains a lot in terms of like the way that I communicate and why I need such like clear boundaries. And anyways, we'll get to that. I didn't really have much of a love life after Mark for years, but I did deal with something called hypersexualization. This is going to be a little bit triggering, okay? I'm going to try to keep it light. I'm not going to get into details, but I was a victim of COCSA, and you can look it up if you want to. I don't feel like getting into it. That was a really defining moment in my life because obviously, you know, it changed how I viewed intimacy between people. And when this happens to you at such a young and vulnerable age, it can go, you know, a million different ways. Some people completely reject intimacy entirely, and others, like me, kind of like look to it as like a badge of honor. It's hard to explain, but I essentially became like slutty, you know, but not actually. It was like a verbal thing. Anytime you have a kid that's just really uses a lot of mature language in that way, it's a bit of a red flag. This is only my opinion and in my experience, so I'm not a professional, but it's just something to keep an eye out because kids shouldn't really know that kind of stuff at such a young age. And because I struggled making friends, you know, with my cognitive socializing differences, I turned to my knowledge of sex to connect with people. And so who did I connect with? Boys. I don't know. I would just kind of like act a little slutty to get guys' attention and sort of like, I felt like my worth was based on that because I didn't have so many friends. If I was getting, you know, validation and quote unquote friendship in return from these sort of interactions, it makes sense why I kept sort of doing that. However, I was a big fat virgin, okay? Big old virgin. Losing my virginity experience, it was not my personal favorite. And this is actually really like the theme of today. So today's look is called Deflower Power. And just a little visual description for my listeners. I'm like in a bedroom with a canopy and like little cloud lights and neon lights. It's kind of whimsical or whatever. And I've got like a Virgin Mary-esque scarf on my head with little teardrops and smudged lipstick. And I'm wearing a yellow lingerie dress with a flower question mark on it. And then I have blued in between my legs. And I wanted to sort of like glamorize the idea of virginity. Not glamorize. I want to change the perspective of it, okay? It was so built up, and it's like you lose your virginity and you lose this part of you. You know, people wear white on wedding days because of the concept of virginity. It is so embedded in culture, and I think for women, a lot of times, especially when you're younger, you think that you're losing something. You're not losing anything. At having sex the first time, it sucks. It's like super not nice, and it's uncomfortable. But you don't lose anything because sex gets so much better as you get older and as you have more of it and as you are intimate with people that you love and care about and people that care about you. You know, sex is like a beautiful part of life, and the first time don't mean shit, okay? It was really built up, but it doesn't matter. So if you're a virgin and you're listening to this, whatever, you'll have sex eventually. Who cares? It's fine. And if you don't want to have sex, great, don't have sex. Who cares? It's not that big of a deal. Sex is great and it's an amazing and fun part of life if it's something that you enjoy, but it also like is not the be all and end all for a fulfilling life. You know, it's like a game. Think of it like Monopoly. It's not the only way you can connect with people. It's a nice way to connect with people. Okay. Not everybody likes Monopoly. That's fine. I don't know. I'm kind of going on a tangent, but that's sort of the look. So where were we again? Virginity. Okay. Sorry. I have ADHD. Probably one of the first like really, really big crushes that I had when my hormones started coming in. I go to Wendy's one day with my mom and I order some chicken fingers, and the boy at the cash register is the cutest little munchkin I've ever seen in my life. He has like flipped out Zac Efron hockey hair. And beautiful blue eyes. I could just never forget his eyes. And we had this really adorable, like flustered interaction. I was like, I'll get some chicken nuggets. And he like can't find them on the thing. And I'm like, oh, it's fine. And he's like, sorry. And anyways, it was cute. Even my mom noticed it when we walked out. She was like, oh my God, that boy was cute. I think you guys were flirting. And I was like, no, Mom, you're embarrassing me. I stalked that Wendy's for years and I never saw him again until I go to high school. My new friend is like, hey, come meet some of my cool older guy friends. And I walk over there, and who is sitting in the middle of the table? None other than my Wendy's boy. Oh, hello. We became best friends, best friends. I got totally friend zoned. We went to prom together. I was his prom date. He was my prom date. It was beautiful. We had a great friendship. And then sex. I actually don't really want to get into like the story because it was like young and complicated. But here's the thing. If you can't communicate, sex is not going to be good. Like you're going to get hurt. You're going to get your feelings hurt. That's the one thing I think I've really, really learned. I think being able to communicate about sex unabashedly, I don't know, what's the word I'm trying to say? Like without fear, like that's the maturity level that you need to like have good sex. The loss of communication between the two of us, unfortunately led to us never seeing each other again. Literally, I have not seen him since that night. And it was so sad. My first like real heartbreak probably. Years later, he sent me a beautiful message taking accountability for his part to play. And it meant so much to me because it was years of build up. And obviously I really liked him and I couldn't communicate. And the details of that teenage saga, I have so much love in my heart for him. And I'd really like to see him again. So maybe I'll reach out and go for dinner or something. It was a defining moment because I never finished this sentence, so here I am finishing this sentence. It was a defining moment for me because obviously my first time having sex was a one-night stand, and I ended up actually pursuing those kinds of relationships after that. So as much as I was saying like, yeah, it's not a big deal because it's so built up, at the same time, I don't want to like diminish its significance because it had a pretty big impact on me. Okay, back to the show. I spent basically the most of my 20s in relationships. This is why I'm on this like vow of singlehood. I'm happy to be single right now because I know that it's where I need to be. I thought I had so much healing to do. This is the biggest realization. Walking away from these relationships, thinking that there was so much wrong with me because I was told that there was so much wrong with me. I get out of these relationships and I'm single and I'm so much happier. I'm happier. My anxiety is gone. Things are better. Things are easier. And I'm not saying that my exes are the problem. I'm not saying anybody's the problem. The point is, I don't need anybody. So I'm not going to invite anybody into my life until I am so sure, until all they bring to my life is more. I am tired of giving so much. I'm sorry. I'm not having anybody in my life that takes anything. I'm never going to compromise ever again. What a feeling. Hallelujah, I tell you. Now, my first real boyfriend. This relationship could be like a movie, okay? We met on a boat in the middle of the ocean. We fell madly in love. We entered a really serious long distance relationship, and over the course of 2 years, I saw him for a total of 2 weeks on 2 separate occasions, 3 days and 8 hours. That's it. 2 whole years. That's all we saw each other. Boy, oh boy, was it bad. The things that I did in that relationship to make it work, I mean, clown behavior, okay? He told me that he was going to move to be with me like a week before he was supposed to come, told me that he wasn't going to come anymore. Heartbroken. I take him back anyways because I'm a doo-doo. He does it again, you guys, twice. He does the same thing. What do I do? Now, the third time he did move there to be with me, thank gosh. And I financially support us. When we broke up, it was so sad. And I forgot about this, but I found it recently. I wrote him this letter. I was so sad reading it because it was just so immature and delusional. I mean, I literally was like, everything is all my fault. Like, I'm so sorry for everything. When I read it, I was like, babe, it's not your fault. It's not his fault either necessarily. It's nobody's fault. It's like a part of life. But I felt like I had control over something, like I could fix something, but you cannot. Relationships are like oddly out of your control, I think. We wanted to be together and there was like a mismatch of life, right? This is where I learned that love is not enough to make a relationship work, because if it was, him and I would still be together 100,000%. But love is not enough to make a relationship work, unfortunately. You have to have similar desires. You have to have timing. There's a lot of factors. There was so much love there, but our lives didn't match up at all. And that was really sad and tragic. But also, it wasn't my damn fault. Who am I sitting here apologizing? Like, oh my gosh. It was so crazy to read, like, that poor girl. And I'm not saying that I was like absent of things that are wrong. You know, I learned a lot about what I did wrong in relationships from these relationships. One thing that I learned recently is bargaining your love. This was such a mind F. So basically what I would do is if I was hurt by something that my partner would do, I would pull away from them and I would like not be as loving. And yes, there's an essence of like your feelings are hurt. Maybe you're not like on or your best. But taking away my love and using it as like a tool of like, you only get it if you're good is a really problematic thing to do. And if you're healthy, what you would be doing is just communicating like, hey, you hurt my feelings like right away, instead of doing this weird kind of like, you need to figure out that I'm mad at you. You have to realize how big of a part you play in your own suffering. Holy crap. It's your fault. No, I'm just kidding. But a lot of the time we make things so much worse for ourselves. There were moments that I knew I should be leaving a relationship. Trusting your gut is such an important thing, I think. Wait, side note, this is a crazy story about trusting your gut. So I'm in New York and it's like 2 a.m. and I am craving noodles. I don't know why. I go out for a quick little walk because there's a 24-hour grocery store right by where I'm staying. And I'm thinking like, I'm a city girl. I've lived in Toronto for 10 years. I can walk around New York alone at night. Oh my God. How wrong was I? I get to the store and I'm just like innocently picking out noodles and I feel this like presence behind me. I turn and this guy is like a foot away from me and his eyes are like boring into my soul. It was like visceral. Like I felt so violated with like his eyeballs. It was so scary. I'm like grabbing my noodles and I notice he's like kind of around the corner and my heart starts to like race really, really fast. So all of a sudden I'm like, I'm in danger. I run outside and it's a whole glass building so I can still see inside the store and I see him looking around and I'm like, he's fucking looking for me. And I was wearing this really obnoxious coat. So I flipped it inside out, pro tip if you think you're being followed, and I started running. For sure he like fucking marked me. Anyways, New York is so scary. I've never had such a reaction like that. And I've been scared. I've been stalked before and I didn't feel like that. And I really believe that I saved my own life that night by listening to my gut and running to the cashier and getting the noodles and getting out of there. Because if I had been like, no, it's fine, like just get your noodles, you're good, and wasted a little bit of time, I could have been in a very different situation. You know, you might not be watching this podcast right now. Your gut always knows before your mind does. I think that's a really great tip. If you're confused about something, how does it feel in your body? Because usually that's the right answer. I don't really have any regrets in my life, but there is a part of me that wishes that I trusted my gut earlier in my relationships because I think it would have saved both me and my ex-partners a lot of suffering. There was one time I did some mushrooms by myself and I started bawling over the ending of my relationship, which I was still in, by the way. It was not over. In the trip, I was like, oh my God, I'm grieving the relationship now. Like I had seen one of those TikToks about how like people move on fast sometimes after relationships because they grieved the relationship like while they're in it. And I was like, that's what I'm doing. It was in fact what I was doing. Ugh, man. Whoever said the first breakup hurts the worst, you're a liar. The second one hurt way more. I'm a really open book and I thought that sharing your trauma with somebody can be a good way, like warning them almost about you is like a good thing to do, but it's not, because it can give people preconceived notions about you. I would get upset with him for something that he would do, and then he would say, I feel like I'm being punished for things that I didn't do to you. Like basically saying like I'm lashing out at him for things that other men did to me in the past. I would believe it all the time. I took his word as fact and I was constantly like, oh my God, this makes so much sense. You're right, I'm crazy. I had more than enough information to know that the relationship wasn't right for me or for him to be able to leave. But again, I walked into that cycle that I have a tendency to perpetuate, this like breakup cycle. And because I've been through trauma, I'm so quick to agree that I'm the problem. And if you're listening to this and you're traumatized, listen, you're not always the problem. Kind of rare to find somebody who's really the problem all the time. And those people, like, they're not even going to be able to be self-aware enough to even like be able to listen to this. Be careful not to like completely blame yourself constantly. And what I learned from that relationship is that while love is not enough, it is the most important thing. Your partner has to like you. It's okay to leave. You don't need to have like a big reason. If you had told me in those relationships like that I would be happier without them, I wouldn't have believed you. Like I didn't even know that I could be happy like this. I suffer from a lot of different mental illnesses. Wait till you see my diagnoses episode. So I didn't know that I could feel this kind of like just like bliss and happiness just like on my own, like existing. But you can. Turns out. Now that's not to say I want to stay alone forever, okay? Like I was saying earlier, I did jump back into the dating game. Now when I first jumped back, oh my God, it went so bad, you guys. Holy shit. Now I knew sort of what I wanted. I didn't want to get into a relationship right away, but I also just didn't want to be like celibate. I wanted to date and connect with people, but like I didn't know how to get in that middle ground, that like gray area. For a long time, I was sort of the mindset of like, we fuck or we get married, you know, like no in between. I thought maybe it would be somewhat easy to find somebody like me, like who's maybe a little bit emotionally damaged, but like still wants a friend. But I found that nobody was really clear with their intentions, and that is a big problem for me. So I went to my friend Alicia, the best dater I know, for some advice.
In my opinion, like dating for me, I would define it as connecting with other people, getting to know other people, but also getting to know yourself and what you want and need.
I've mentioned to you that I don't often like grow to like someone. I generally like, usually I've like kind of made up my opinion like pretty quickly in the first 5 minutes. And so if I'm growing to like talk to them, it's because I want, if I'm talking to them, if I'm trying to connect with them, it's because I want them to stay in my life, period.
Right.
I never want them out of my life. I never want to talk to someone knowing that there's a potential that we would not be in each other's lives if I like them. And that sucks because people don't like you back all the time.
No.
And
But that's part of it. That's part of it.
No, thank you. Willingly putting myself out there for people to not like me? Shoot me.
First thing is I have been enjoying dating for the first time for that reason, is that people can just come into my life briefly and teach me something like, oh, I thought I wanted this kind of a person, but once it was presented to me, I actually don't. But they still were nice and we had a fun time and we played a good game of pool and that was kind of it.
You almost like find comfort in the fact that like I don't have to talk to you forever.
In a way,
whereas
yeah.
like I'm like almost afraid of that.
Right. You want to learn how to like be in the gray because that's the whole point. And like dating, there's so much uncertainty. Like, is this person even going to text me back? Like the guy that you were seeing, like the lame one.
Oh my
What was that? Like,
God.
what even happened?
The date was cute and like normal and fun. And it was like hanging out with a person. And it was like dating. Like I was like, this is dating. Where they don't like each other that much, but they like each other enough to hang out. And then maybe they'll like each other more. This is what people do. This is great. I'm not completely obsessed with him. So then we're texting all the time, like, well, not all the time, but like normal, like once every couple of days. I'm like, I love this. This isn't somebody that feels the need to text me every single day, all day. Like we just text every couple of days. That's awesome. It goes literally nowhere. That was the hottest we got, was literally just texting. It just kept going for like 3 months and we didn't see each other again. And I made it clear, like I tried to lay it on the table of like tried to put a few things down and it was Christmas and there was things happening, but I realized at the end of the relationship that I just wanted to have an adult consensual sleepover with this guy. So then that's confusing as heck because I'm like, why did I just waste all my time texting that person?
Okay, well, why did you waste all your time texting that person?
Because I thought that's what you were supposed to do. I thought you were like supposed to...
Lesson learned.
Yeah. Should have been more clear.
Should have been more clear. But also, I don't think you could have been if you weren't with yourself. Because you didn't realize that. You didn't realize that until, like, partially through.
If dating is about getting to know yourself through other people, that's kind of what I did. Was that dating?
Yes. So you... Okay.
I did it! So you're saying that, like, if you're going into dating, you have to be really clear about your intentions and what you want.
Yes, but I also think it's okay for you to change your mind and based on that person. Like, I've dated people where I'm like, this is what I want from them. And then I've gone out with them 2 or 3 times to be like, I actually don't want anything serious with them and I don't even want anything casual with them. But, like, it was nice to get to know them.
Right.
Like, if anything, a friend or,
right.
Like, not everyone can be put into a certain box.
That's a really good point. It's funny. It sounds so simple when you say it like that, but it really is like... The idea of getting to know yourself through dating others really like unlocked what it is for me. Like that all of a sudden made it click for me. I get it. It makes sense. Nowadays, it's so much harder to do that, especially because like the energy exchange is different. There's a lot of online, there's dating apps. Right. The person that I should bring to dating, what I'm picking up from this is that it's like the version of yourself that you are with your friends, but then maybe with like a layer of like work, like a little layer of like professionalism over it. Like,
yeah. It's like a little job interview sometimes.
Yeah. Like you're trying not to show all of your cards, but you're being like your fun loving self.
Yeah.
But then not too much work because you don't want to be too boring.
I think it's how do you want to show up?
I don't want to show up at all. I want someone to come over and just sit on my fucking couch and sit and watch and just talk.
Bro, I don't want to do any of this work.
Any of it. I want to do nothing. I just want you to FaceTime me and then we can talk for 5 minutes. We're like, do we vibe? Let's keep talking. Or we don't. Let's never talk again. Ever.
Okay, so we're going to come up with a new dating service, speed dating by Alicia.
Oh,
Everyone's on their couch, 5-minute FaceTimes.
that actually sounds so fun. But I feel like I need to meet people in person also. That's why I can't do dating apps. Dating apps have never gone well for me.
Dating apps typically do not go well for anyone.
Okay.
But
That's
like,
good.
let's talk about that because what the fuck are dating apps, honestly? Like, I'm on them.
Yeah, you're good at them.
I am good at them, but I don't enjoy them. There's
Right.
nothing about it that is like, wow, this is fun. Because
So cool.
it's not, it feels very, like, it feels like a game. It feels like you're just swiping. It feels like if I meet people in person, their energy is so different than the pictures they've chosen to put out into the world.
That's so true. Do you have a favorite? Well, I liked Hinge, actually. Out
I
of
love
all the
Hinge,
dating
yeah.
apps that you've used.
Hinge.
Which ones have you used?
Well, originally, back when it first came out, like when I was like 18, I did Tinder.
Yeah. Rough times.
Rough.
I did Tinder one time.
It's scary out there. And then I've done Bumble, which is
Yeah.
like fine. I do like Bumble, but I think Hinge is just more fun. I like the profile views. Yeah. Yeah, I love the prompts.
I was really
yeah.
intrigued by that because
Yeah.
I hadn't been in the dating game in many years. Go on Hinge
Yeah.
and the prompts, the voice
It can be
memos.
fun. It can be fun.
That
That
is
part.
a cool way.
Tinder. Wait.
Oh, yeah.
So you were on Tinder when?
I was on Tinder one time when I was 18. Yeah, and it was in Toronto, and I dated the marketing guy. Didn't I tell you about this guy? With the
Oh wait, this is coming back to me,
the
but
suit.
this is like
The guy
yeah,
with the
yeah,
suit.
yeah.
So there was the guy with the suit, and this guy this is the only actual
guy with the suit.
everywhere he went. He came. I was a broke barista, and he would come to my coffee shop in a suit just randomly. Anyways, we were having
Man's
a good
gotta
time. He seemed nice enough. I liked him. He like took me to cool bars, and he was wearing a suit all the time, so I thought he was rich. I was also young and dumb. But one time he took me to a Blue Jays game, and this was when I was new to Toronto. So my only sports games that I had been to had been hockey games, and hockey game tickets are expensive. Blue Jays tickets are like $10 in Toronto. They're hella
No
cheap.
idea.
Oh,
Don't
they're
care.
so cheap. They're like $10-15. Okay, so this proves my point because I went. He's like, "I'll take you to the Blue Jays game," and I'm like, "Oh my god!" Thinking that it's on the
Daddy,
same level.
chill.
Yeah, it's like taking me to a hockey game. I'm like, he spent $100 on the ticket. The Blue Jays tickets are like $7.45. $7.25, I think, actually, on off season. Anyways, long story short, I was young, I was dumb. He also like couldn't. We tried to like hook up a couple times, and he couldn't get it up. And there's nothing wrong with that. That happens all the time. But it felt like there was something going on. It turns out it was guilt because he follows me on Instagram for some reason, and then I go to his Instagram and he's got pictures with this girl, and I'm like, wait a second. I go to her page, girlfriend in Italy, a girlfriend in Italy, and he couldn't get it up, and he wore a suit everywhere. Talk
Arrivederci.
Talk about a letdown. That's why I never trust a man in a
Talk
suit.
about a letdown.
Oh, that was good. I liked that. That was good.
Okay, so Tinder didn't work out.
No,
Tinder was not the vibe.
But Tinder is also like two of my dear friends are married and they met on Tinder.
That's
Happens all
crazy.
the time.
And I have friends that have
Yeah.
been married on Tinder, which is
I think it's just dating people.
I
This
think
is the
you
problem.
can meet the right person anywhere. You could meet them outside a dumpster.
True. I saw one of those. Have you
That'd
seen
be so
those?
cute.
That actually would be cute. Have you seen those really cute, like the New York City How We Met videos? Aw.
Yes.
Okay, there was one the other day, and they were like, we met on Craigslist, and I'm thinking it's like this beautiful like furniture swap, and then he's like, how did it happen? He was like, they both posted like looking for a pen pal.
Oh, that's so sad.
They've been married for like 20 years, bro.
That's so sad and like
Adorable.
but sweet. Yeah.
Adorable.
Maybe you should try Craigslist.
Is it sad? Because honestly, slay. It worked out. Maybe I should try Craigslist. No, I'm not dating anyone ever again. No.
Oh. That's
Because, yeah.
a bold statement.
Friends or it turns into something more. That's great. Well, I'm traumatized. No, this is trauma.
Which ex?
If you think you've been in a situationship, I can beat you. You know that quote where they say, fool me once, shame on you, fool me twice, shame on me? What do they say about 15 times? Just wondering. So when I was 16, I went to the lake with a friend and I met this boy. We shared what I thought was a beautiful night together on the trampoline looking at the stars. And when I went back to the cabin to tell my friend about this new love interest, she said, oh my God, guess who I just kissed? It was him. It's not her fault, okay? She didn't know that I liked him. The only way I could really get this guy's attention was with the promise of making out or something like kind of hot and sexual, which like I was kind of talking about earlier, the hypersexualization, like it all plays a part. Looking back, it took me 12 years to realize that we are not friends, not lovers. No, I did kind of know that, but I always really liked him. And as you've noticed throughout this episode, I'm a very communicative girl, so I was never shy about that. I'm not the type of person to like keep that sort of thing to myself. The first time I told him that I loved him, I was like 20. I was like, I love you. And he goes, no, you don't. Oh, okay. Thanks for letting me know. Yes, it was like on and off. Yes, it was physical, but we crossed a lot of boundaries into like dating relationship sort of territory. Alicia has seen this story from top to bottom. She has been there from the saga. Her and I have been friends since we were teenagers, so she knows. When he came up, she called me out on the one thing it was that actually bothered me.
This is a fresh thought.
Okay, tell me.
Fresh thought.
Really?
Live. Yeah.
Oh God.
It was the expectation.
Well, yeah.
But, well, yeah. Are you fucking kidding me?
Tell me more. Expectations, yeah. Moments that I thought were really special. They were special to me because I wanted them to be special. I was reading into them. I put something there because I wanted there to be something there. The ending to our saga, he reaches out because, I don't know, he can sniff out that I'm single or something. And we share this beautiful, lovely night together. The next morning I wake up. Oh my God, I just knew in my body. I was like, you just let this happen again. He goes radio silent. And by that point, I'm totally fed up because this has been like 12 years of this. And like, I thought that we were just going to be friends. I got the word slut tattooed. After I did, I felt so empowered that I was like, you know what? I'm going to confront this man, like truly confront him for the first time. So I did. And I was like, you know what? Tell me how you feel about me. And he goes, well, I feel something, but if feelings are coming up, then we should no longer engage. I mean, he spoke to me like I was like an employee. He put on this weird voice. We were teenagers together. Like, you can't pull a professional tone with me. I can't believe it took so long to get to this point because like I knew, I knew the most recent time when he reached out to me, his phone number didn't come through. It was on his email. And I'm like, that's weird. You blocked his phone number 5 years ago, dummy. Hello. Realizing that like so much of the suffering that I was feeling was by my own accord. And no, listen, how he acted and how he treated me, he's a shitty friend, but he's a good guy. I mean, he just wasn't a good guy to me. But at the end of the day, like most of my pain, yes, it was coming from that rejection and the ending of like such a long-standing relationship, but mostly it came from my expectations. Think about those times where you're being really sentimental and then you have like an older sibling be like, oh, you're fucking lame. Like things that mean something to you might not mean something to somebody else. So a moment between us that was a moment to him might not have been a moment, probably wasn't a moment, it might have been just two friends hanging out. So through him, I learned what my boundaries were and what I wanted. I know now that emotional communication is so important to me that it's a non-negotiable. You might say like that's like a basic. Yes, you should be able to emotionally communicate, but some people don't feel the need to have like deep conversations to connect with somebody. That's how I connect with someone. So if they're unable to have that with me, then I'm not going to be able to connect with them. I'm not going to feel safe with them. If they can't match your level of emotional intelligence, then why are you even sad about it?
You have to be comfortable being uncomfortable. So like finding comfort in the discomfort of dating, and that includes rejection, that includes being vulnerable, and that includes a lot of other icky feelings that come with that. Guilt for maybe not saying how you felt, guilt for saying how you felt and making someone feel bad.
Yeah, doing the rejecting, that's also a thing I
doing
really
the
hate.
rejecting
That's a really hard
others
thing to do. Yeah,
it does suck.
that sucks. How have you gotten comfortable with the occasional rejection that you get? Because it comes with the territory when you're dating multiple people, which I still cannot get over how hilarious that is, that between the two of us that I am somehow the one who's like, I'm a polyamorous pansexual and I can barely handle a single person. And this girl is like, I'm a cis hetero white woman and I can date 10 people at once. Not a problem. I won't even blink. Crazy.
You're good at it, and you're so respectful and communicative, and I really admire the way you navigate dating.
Thank
I'm
you so
actually not
much.
kidding. Like, I know
No.
I'm just like, I'm joking and calling
Yeah.
you my slutty friend, but you're really good at like being respectful of people's time and like navigating exactly what I think dating is.
Right.
So how do you handle that when somebody that you like
Rejects me?
Yeah.
This is something, again, like this is really recent where I've been sitting with this because my traumas come up where I'm like, oh, like someone's leaving me again. Like, oh my God, I must not be good enough. Like all of these like insecurities come out. And then I have to just pause and be curious about, do I actually like this person? Do I like them? What do I like about them? Like, what kind of future can I see with them? Do our goals align? Then I start being curious. Okay, none of these things align. Then what do I have to be upset about?
That is, a really mature way of looking at it.
It's hard to do though, because I do just want to sit in that like shitty feeling of being like, oh my God, another guy. Oh my, I want to quit dating. Like, fuck this. Like, the whatever you want to say, like whatever excuse you want to give.
Yeah.
But then it's like, okay, how did I contribute to the situation? Like, did I maybe like say something that was off-putting, or did I like dump my trauma on them?
So
or did
easy
I
to do that.
right on a date, like, and you're just talking, or and even if I did, like, okay, if they didn't appreciate that, then what does that say about why do I care what they think if they clearly don't care what I think?
Yeah, especially when it's like nothing, like it's just parts of your personality or things that are like subjective, like something that might bother someone might not bother another person, but objectively is a harmless thing. You know, like one person loves pasta, the other person hates pasta. Nobody's saying that it's wrong to love or hate pasta, but it's like a difference.
Who hates pasta?
Nobody hates pasta.
What the fuck?
It's ridiculous.
So there you have it, folks. Dating intuitively. That's really the key. Love is a part of life, you guys. Breakups are so hard. It's like one of the hardest things ever, I know. Because it's like grieving somebody who's like still alive, you know? They're still there. You still gotta look at their Instagram. So annoying. The relationship you have with yourself, it's the most important one you're ever gonna have. Yay. Okay. Thank you so much for opening your mind up with me today. Don't forget to be kind to yourself and others. Okay. Love you. Bye.